The ultimate Richmond Sushi Showdown. That's very hard to say. Lucky AF versus Fighting Fish. Who is the champ? Let's find out. Hello folks, this is going to be a quick review because I finally did it. I got Lucky AF in general, but I got Lucky AF the restaurant and I got Fighting Fish in the exact same night. One after the other. And I got them there at the restaurant because, as we learned from one of my sushi reviews, sushi does not travel particularly well. At Lucky AF, I had tuna, salmon, yellowtail, white tuna. Got the tunas down. I had egg tamago, I had mackerel, I had tilapia, and I had eel. I lost track halfway through. Hopefully I got them all out there. But they did not have all that same selection at Fighting Fish. I will also say that I was extremely full by the time I got to Fighting Fish. By the time I had settled down into my seat, I had ordered my sake, I had had my first sip, all the Lucky AF sushi had settled in. So I wasn't exactly needing to do a one-to-one test because I had just eaten quite a bit. But over at Fighting Fish, I had yellowtail, I had tuna, I had salmon, I had octopus, and I had eel. I can say from experience that I have had mackerel at Fighting Fish quite a bit. Spoiler alert, I love it. But with that being said, it wasn't purely scientific, but I can give you my thoughts of the differences between the two. First, let's compare the sakes. The sake I had hot over at Lucky AF. It was very, very good. It was pretty sweet, but it was quite tasty, especially because I got it on happy hour. Sake I had over at Fighting Fish, I thought was a little bit cleaner. I thought it was a little bit crisper, and I think it probably would have had a lower sake rating on the international sake scale, meaning I think it was a little bit drier. It also came in a much cuter set. The one problem with the Lucky AF set is they poured it into like a little glass carafe, like very hot. And it was so hot, like maybe I'm just a baby, but I couldn't it was hard for me to pick it up and actually pour it. One nice thing I will also say is that traditionally what you're supposed to do for sake is you're supposed to pour it for someone else. I completely understand. I'm not going to take off points because Lucky AF, the bartender didn't pour me my sake. But I will say, Fighting Fish, she did pour me my sake, which I thought was very nice. That's a nice touch. The sake set from Fighting Fish was absolutely adorable. It was slightly more to my taste, but it's a toss-up between the two. Atmosphere. Lucky AF is very much kind of a younger, hipper vibe. Wood paneling, wood accents everywhere, hip lingo. I mean, it's called Lucky AF. There's hip murals everywhere. The rolls are called younger people names. It's definitely more of a cozy atmosphere. Now, I don't particularly like the music they always play. It's usually some sort of top 40 mix, played very loudly. And I don't particularly like to enjoy my $100 worth of fish with Taylor Swift yelling in my ear. Fighting Fish has a much more sophisticated atmosphere, sterile, some might even say. I like it a lot, but there's a lot of white, and it's definitely more of a higher class joint, if I can say that. Whereas Lucky AF is super cozy, Fighting Fish is like, all right, I'm here with the hip and happening crowd wearing my favorite, I don't even know what people wear these days. Sweatpants. I just got out of a Zoom meeting. Doing my best to keep my references current. But I would say that Lucky AF is a little bit more inviting. Fighting Fish is definitely much more of a restaurant, if that makes sense. Lucky AF has a bit more of a bar atmosphere. They also have an actual sushi counter where you can see the folks make it. But they crank out so much sushi that it's not necessarily an interactive thing like it is with, the highest of the high sushi joints. Now on to the fish. I just want to start off by saying both are absolutely delicious. Both are my absolute favorite here in Richmond. I think pound for pound, Fighting Fish's fish, I think, is a little bit better. They slice their sashimi slightly thicker. Their salmon was fattier. Their tuna was more flavorful. Their yellowtail was perfect. And I think it's a slightly higher quality fish than Lucky AF. And that being said, Lucky AF is still one of my favorites. In terms of fish quality, here in Richmond, not everywhere else, this is on the Richmond sliding scale, Lucky AF is a 9 and Fighting Fish is a 10. And I think that goes into the overall comparison between the two. I think Lucky AF is more of a welcoming atmosphere, and it's much more of a sushi joint. I would take my friends to Lucky AF, and I often go to Lucky AF by myself because, honestly, if you sit at the bar, a lot of times someone will just start talking to you. It's a welcoming atmosphere, and the sushi is absolutely excellent, and you can kind of get some bulk deals if you ask nicely enough. They also have egg tamago, which if you're in the mood for egg tamago, I haven't asked Fighting Fish yet, but I haven't seen it on their menu. It's not a Lucky AF's menu either, but still. Fighting Fish, I think, is the better restaurant, if that makes any sense. So Lucky AF is the better sushi joint, and Fighting Fish is the better restaurant. This is the place that I would take somebody who's like, yes, I'm into food. This is a place that I would take my mom. We're back. Magically, I have changed outfits somehow, even put on a hat. My camera ran out of batteries last night. It took me all night to charge it. So here I am filming on the next day in a brand new outfit. Good luck editing this one. What was I saying before? I was saying before, Fighting Fish is somewhere where I would take somebody who really, really cares about food. Someone like my mom, for instance, who is a fantastic cook. The food is seasonal, it's super fresh, it's super interesting. They got some ceviches there. They have a great sashimi platter. I mean, everything is so well put together, and it's very, very unique. Fighting Fish is also very good for takeout. I got to give them some credit there. I'm a little salty that they moved their Jackson Ward location. Apparently in the night, not telling anybody. One day I called them up and I got brr, 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 and I sadly shuffled over to see they were no longer there. But they have some something called sushi burritos. And they're quite good, and their poke bowls are quite good as well. So I would say that Fighting Fish has more cogent, straight-up dishes, where I think Lucky AF is a place where if you're just in the mood for some sushi, you go to Lucky AF and get your fix that way. Overall, I'll say that Lucky AF and Fighting Fish are my two most frequented restaurants, other than Conch Republic, which is no longer with us. R.I.P. I'll miss you dearly. Hopefully Island Shrimp Company will put that piece back into my heart. So, ultimately, which is best, Lucky AF or Fighting Fish? I think that Fighting Fish has the best fish in Richmond. It is the freshest fish. They give you big, thick slabs of sashimi when you order it. The salmon is super fatty. The yellowtail is super juicy. It is absolutely delicious. On the other hand, Lucky AF has better variety. And their white tuna is absolutely to die for. I was in my head, I was like, I don't want to say to die for, but I said it anyways. And I'm a little embarrassed to use such a trite saying, but here we are. I will say, at Fighting Fish, you technically can order a la carte, but it's not on the menu. So it's kind of like a handshake deal in the back room. And it's also quite expensive if you do that. So Lucky AF is a little bit cheaper if you're just in the mood for just straight up a big pile of sushi to share with somebody else. And that somebody else depends on where you should take them. Take your mom to Fighting Fish, take your friends to Lucky AF. Or vice versa, depending on what they're in the mood for. I don't know, it's a tie, it's a tie. What a cop-out. It's a tie, they're both my favorite. How about that? I'm not going to make a sushi's choice. I'm going to continue frequenting both of them because I kind of like them the same. One has better fish, the other's a little more relaxed, and I can get more fish. Okay, I think that's the review. What did I learn? Well, I learned that I like sushi. Hopefully you do too. Thank you for watching. It's the morning. I'm so bad at this in the morning. So signing off.